Okay, this video here we're going to continue, try to get this title block finished up. Let's start right here. I mentioned this would be multi-line text as well. And so I will do T, select here. Be careful, you have a square down here, so make sure we select that right corner. And just start typing it out. I don't know any other changes at this time, so I'll just start typing it unless otherwise specified. Dimensions are in inches, in parentheses, IN. And then enter, that's a different line. Tolerances. I'll go ahead and do 3 spaces. 1 place. Plus or minus. I'm not really sure. Well, actually, I am sure. It's right up here. Go up to symbol. And I see a lot of different options here. And in this case, it's right here, plus or minus. And I can either select this, and it also tells me that I could do %%P. And what that means is, here, I'll just go ahead and select this one. There's my plus or minus, 0.1. Do another 3 spaces, 2 places. And it said %, what was it? P, and there it is. So 0.01, 1, 2, 3. I'll do 4 places here. 3 places. %P. 0.006. And I'll go ahead. Doesn't matter if you want to do some spaces, or I'll just go ahead and do an enter. Angles. %P. 0.5. Now degrees, what's degree? I'm not real certain, so go up to symbol, and it happens to be right here. Now, you get into this, we get into some other symbols. We're going to have to go to, other, and we're going to have to go to a different font being something like a GDT. Now here is an Arial font. I don't have what I'm talking about here, so, but what I do have, if you go up, there's an AMGDT, AMGDT IV25, AMGDT IV50. I'm just going to go ahead and go to the 50. And here are some of the symbols you will use or see if you ever look at mechanical drawings. Here there is that plus minus. Here is an angle, perpendicular, parallelity. There's a few different geometric dimensioning and tolerancing. That's what GDT stands for, geometric dimensioning and tolerancing. Parallelity, concentricity, different things like that. Really the ones you're going to use or see will be diameter, square, counter bore, countersink, depth. Those are really probably the most common ones. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and close. I can go ahead and select degrees, and that is a %D. Okay, and space 30 minutes, and I am done. Now, double click again. I failed to change justification to middle center, and now I am done. Well, it's too large. So in this case, I'd mention, just to get it to fit, let's change this to a 0.1. Tab. And now it looks like it's just fine for the most part. Not really exactly where I want it. Okay. Let's find out why. And I don't have the same grips that I do when I have single line text or when I have objects. So this for multi-line text, this is one reason why I will tell you to be very careful and probably plan on not using multi-line. If at all possible, use single line text unless there's a good reason such as this one. I'm just going to move this out for a second. Temporarily, I'll draw a line right there that has a midpoint. I'll click here and put on midpoint, and that looks good. I can delete that if I want, and then I will put this back into Z-text layer like I need to do several of the others. Okay, and then down here I will do this single line text. If you want, you can go ahead and do this line first. DT, justify, let's see, currently it's center. I'm going to say justify middle center. I can select it here, or I can select it here, either way. And I will say that, and height is 0.12, and rotation is 0. Third angle projection. And that will be on my text layer. Okay. If you need to, if you want, you feel inclined to make this the same height as that, that's fine. Go here and go to, now this inside of your text editor, going to here, this a little bit different, okay? So instead, escape and just select it one time. Don't edit the text, don't go in the text editor. Now you have a text category here, height, and I'm going to say that's a 0.1. I'm going to make it the same height, same size as all this text here. Okay, and then to draw the third angle projection symbol, I'm going to leave that up to you. I gave the specs on that is on Canvas. You'll have a little handout there. If you want, I'll go ahead and show you that this size, go ahead and make its diameter 3/8 of an inch, 0.375. So that'll be H or D, whichever that little diagram shows you, which will then give you distances over here a ways before this is then brought in 30 degrees, so on and so forth. So I'll leave that up to you. Make sure your center lines do extend out past. Try to make them uniform. My recommendation, just use the offset command from here to here. Do a temporary and a temporary, and then that there. Now you have some boundaries to send your extension lines to, or your center lines to. So I'll leave that one up to you. See if you can get that figured out. Okay. Last thing we have here is Missouri Western State University. So I'll go over here. Let's go ahead and make it. If you want, let's go ahead and do multi-line text. So I will do T again from here to here. I'm not totally certain the size. I'm going to leave it as 0.12 for now, and I will do Missouri Western State University, and then enter EGT 205 space dash space computer aided drafting. Now mine definitely looks different than what, or at least it did, middle center, than what it was earlier. That definitely is different in many ways. One of those ways is I did M and W, S and U as bold. I also did them a larger size, such as a 0.1, 1875 maybe. Okay, and bold and 0.1875. Make that bold, bold, and now I have 1875 on here. Bold, 1875. You can kind of play around with these. Additionally, say these were all 1875. Computer C, A, and D. Bold in 1875. And these might need to change. I'm not certain. I'm just kind of playing. Another big difference is the look. Well, if you notice, that's a different look, a different style. It's called a font. And that's what I'm going to show you next. We're at about 8 minutes. I'm going to show you that real quick. So definitely follow along. I don't need to select this. Instead, I'm going to go up to my Annotate ribbon. And right here for Annotate, I have text, dimensions, centerline, leaders, tables, markup, annotation, scaling. Right here, text. Drop this down, this text style. Now, if you want to see your different styles, you have these here. You can drop this down. You probably don't have as many, especially since yours probably says annotative. Drop this one down, and you get this text style dialog box. Now, I wonder if it says style is the command there. So ST, actually S is stretch, ST, style, and I get that same window. Here's what I want you to do. Now, regardless of what mine say, okay, and actually, it's in use. I can't delete it. So don't worry about what mine says. I'm going to create a new one I don't have, which is Times New Roman. Now, in this case, again, yours is either going to be highlighted, annotative, or standard, doesn't matter. Before you mess with the font, what I want you to do first is click New. If you mess with the font, it changes whatever font you select to that current style, and it can mess up things. So go to New first, and I'm just going to leave it as Style 1. I'll just hit Enter because I don't know the name of it. Now, and again, make sure it's highlighted, drop this down, and you can select your one of almost 500 different styles or fonts, and I am going to go down to Times New Roman, and I'm going to click it. Now, my personal preference, instead of things like standard or annotative, and again, every company has their own standard on this, I want this, since that's what I'm normally going to see, I want this to tell me what font it is. So a couple options. You can right click and say rename. You can click once, click a second time, not double click, just click once, pause, click a second time. Times New Roman, and I'll hit Enter. To me, it makes a lot of sense for the style name to tell me what font it is. I shouldn't have to guess or memorize that this one means this font and this one means a different font. The name should be right there. So here's a sampling of it. There is a way to print upside down, backwards, a width factor, please leave it 1 at this time, oblique angle, height, leave that as 0. 0, that means it's going to ask you every time, and I'll input it at that time. So I'm also going to say that's set current. Now, it doesn't matter if you do this, but I'll hit close. What that means is now from here on out, if I type text, I am in the Times New Roman font. So now if I just click this, notice it says that it's standard. It's also over here where it says standard here for the style. And either of those locations, I can drop this down and say, you know, I want that to be Times New Roman. Okay. Now, because I've already created this, sometimes this may not change to that other style. It's okay. In this case, it looks like some of them did, but some didn't. If I swipe there, I see that still says Arial. Swipe here, it says Times New Roman. Now I'm going to go ahead and swipe all of this, and this should be Times New Roman. And I will select it there, and there you go. So now on mine, and just because I made this one italics or italicized, just to make it stand out a little different. It just happens to be our class name. Now again, this didn't automatically put it in the center. That's okay. So I will draw a line from here to here and move that to that midpoint. And again, you can leave that line or not. I'm going to put this on text, and that looks a little bit nicer. If it's too big, then change the size of your font, a different size of your lettering, larger, smaller, whatever it may be, to where it looks good. Again, what looks good is usually that it is not crowded. It's not jammed in there. It has a nice balance to it. So some of the things you want to strive for. So you can get all of this done. Again, all of these should be obvious that they are to be on the text layer. Leave blank as blank. Leave it on the no print. Cage code, now date, anything that you have to fill in, leave those on the no print layer as well. Drawing number, revision, and you can put unchecked. You go ahead and put my initials as shown, and they should look as such. Okay. You also need the text in here that says DWG number. Text in here says cage. Text here says size, and then if anything, a number right here. And then you'll have your title block, and then you can again copy all of this. Now, my recommendation now is when I want to copy everything over to my different layout sizes, as opposed to copying the title block then copying the text. However, there is a way you can type this and do select come on, select similar. And notice it's grabbed both of the multi-line texts. If I grab that and say select similar, notice it grabs everything. Now it's interesting it didn't select date. Why is that? Well, there are some settings in there that you'll want to do some research, and I'm intentionally not going to tell you too much about that, but I do see that I have a settings there on my options bar. I'm going to let you research that and see if you can figure out why it didn't select date there. So if I right click there, again, certain things are left out. If I click there, only those things. Click, 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 oh, click, 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 right click. Looks like I may have selected almost everything minus this one. So again, I'm going to let you explore with that, play with that, see if you can get it to where it quickly and easily selects only your text. You will also want to make sure it selects each of those little squares, blocks, whatever they may be, to set off the standard distance. If anything, the easiest thing is just to simply grab the entire title block over there. So another option, and this is the last thing before I close out this video, is you could lock your title block. And now if I select everything there, notice what didn't copy, the locked object. As well, other than locking it, I could have just turned it off and then selected everything. Looking ahead, I want to be able to copy this and put it in the right location. I'll leave it locked, but if I then draw me a little line right here, and then I select all of this and I do a Control C, now when I come here and I do a Control V, I know that line goes right there at that intersection, and everything is exactly where I want it to be. Little things, little tricks, just think ahead, go slow and think about what you're doing and what you're going to be doing, what you want to have to select on can really help you out in these matters, so save you a lot of time and frustration. So I'm going to end this one, and that one should be good to go. You should be able to complete this template. Make sure you keep saving and saving it as your DWT. So let me know if you have any questions.